2023.11A4. Do I have a motion?
Moved.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have all ayes?
Aye.
All right.
Straight across. Good. Getting all packed up for yourself.
I guess we just leave our stuff here.
Text earlier.
Ought to be safe. We have a safe here. We can put it in.
the microphone's not on.
It's not on.
I don't see it.
Okay. We are back from a closed session. No action was taken at this time. I request a motion to adjourn.
So move.
So we all say in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we're adjourned. We're going to take 5-minute recession and then come back and start our regular council meeting. Thank you. I'd like to call to order the meeting for May 6, 2025. Please join me in a moment of silence. Okay, please join me in Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to welcome everyone who has joined us today. We're always happy to have you with us. We follow a written agenda which is available on our website at salisburync.gov/agendas. City Council meetings are broadcast on WSRG, our local government TV station, which is available on Spectrum Channel 16 and Hotwire Channel 394. Meeting air times are posted on the station's website, WSRGTV.com. You can also watch the current and past City Council meetings on demand from the city's website, salisburync.gov/videos. I'd like to have adoption of the agenda.
Motion to adopt the agenda as presented.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, as moved. I'd like to call on now City Manager Jim Green to present.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, members of council. I'd just like to invite Police Chief Smith up front to introduce our newest member of Salisbury Police Department. Chief Smith.
Thank you. I'll be brief. Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, members of council. As you guys know, Deputy Chief Stallings retires. His last working day is June 14th. So I'm excited tonight to share some important news about an addition to our leadership team at the Salisbury Police Department. We've recently welcomed a new deputy chief, Audrey Bridges, sitting next to me to the right. She officially steps into the role this month, and she'll be working with Deputy Chief Stallings over the next few weeks. And I can't tell you how proud we are to have her join us. Audrey brings with her nearly 3 decades of experience in law enforcement, starting as a patrol officer in Concord and working her way through the ranks. Most recently, she held a senior leadership position with the State Bureau of Investigation, where she played a key role in training reforms, high-level investigations, and community outreach initiatives. She's known across the state not just for her deep knowledge and experience, but for the way she leads, with heart, with purpose, and a strong belief in the power of partnerships between police and community. We conducted a thorough hiring process, and there was some incredible talent in the mix. But Audrey stood out. She brings the kind of leadership that inspires people. She's forward-thinking, she listens, and she understands the responsibility that comes with wearing the badge. She also has a strong academic background with degrees from North Carolina State and from Pfeiffer University. She's also completed top-tier training through the FBI National Academy and many other national leadership programs. But more than anything, it's her character, her compassion, and her ability to connect with people that make her the right fit for this role and for this city. So we're entering an important chapter in Salisbury, and I believe that Deputy Chief Bridges is going to help us take our department to the next level. So please help me in welcoming to our team Deputy Chief Audrey Bridges.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Anything you'd like to say?
Thank you to Chief Smith and City Manager Green, everyone involved in the process. Just thank you for this opportunity. Thank you to the community. And I'm just grateful and humbled and honored just to be a part of this city and the team. Thank you.
Welcome. Welcome.
Sir.
Thank you.
All right, item number 5, council to recognize purchasing officer Misty Fields for receiving her designation as a certified local government purchasing officer. Presenter Assistant Finance Director Mark Dry.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, City Council. It is my pleasure to introduce Misty Fields to you. She came to Salisbury in 2015 as an accounting technician, started out doing accounts payable. Shortly thereafter, had to start learning payroll. Ran both of those for a while. She started assisting our then purchasing manager with purchase orders, reviewing, took over our procurement card administrator. She administers all of our P cards. In 2022, she decided to start pursuing her certification in purchasing. That's probably one of the most difficult, or at least most complex certifications in our local government finance. It involves 4 core classes that she has to take, a certification exam. On top of the 4 classes, you also have to accumulate points. I think 22 points are the total. In her case, those 22 points come up to about over 100 hours of additional education credit to get that certification. In June of 24, she passed her certification exam, and then in January of 25, she was recognized or officially became a certified local government purchasing officer for by the state of North Carolina, or the Government Purchasing Conference Association. In March of 2025, she was actually awarded that certificate and promoted to the city's purchasing officer. Misty she's kind of the glue that holds us all together in finance. A lot of the staff will tell you they deal with her a lot of times on a daily basis, especially since she's still currently doing payroll until we can get that position filled, along with the purchasing. So she is everybody's favorite person every other Friday. But she's great, and we just take the pleasure in recognizing that certification and just want to present her to you tonight.
Thank you. Welcome.
Turn it back to you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay. Item 6, Mayor to proclaim the following officers. Peace Officer Memorial Day, May 15th through 2025. Drinking Water Week, May 4th through the 10th, 2025. National Police Week, May 11th through the 17th, 2025. National Prevention Week, May 11th through the 17th, 2025. National Skilled Nursing Care Week, May 11th through the 17th, 2025. Asian Pacific American Heritage Month, May 2025. Better Hearing and Speech Month, May 2025. Bike Month, May 2025. Exercise is Medicine Month, May 2025. Jewish Heritage Month, May 2025. Mental Health Awareness Month, May 2025. And Motorcycle Safety Awareness Month, May 2025. And the National Preservation Month, May 2025. All right, and then item number 7, council to consider consent agenda. I believe we all had opportunity to take a look at it. Do you have any questions or anything that want to be pulled? If not, do I have a motion for the consent agenda?
I'll make that motion to adopt the consent agenda as presented.
Okay, we have a motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Been approved. All right. So item number 8, council to receive public comment. Connie, do we have anyone?
Yes, sir, Mayor Pro Tem, our first speaker is Ms. Shirley McLaughlin.
Okay. I don't know, maybe I'm in trouble. First time sitting here, here she comes.
I'll see what you're gonna do.
Okay. Welcome.
Thank you.
Please state your name.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and Council. I am Shirley McLaughlin, and I reside on the West End. I have several concerns I would like to address this evening. First, the streets in the West End are heavily traveled by residents and those who travel for shortcuts. The streets are in poor condition and need to be paved. Old Plank Road, West Monroe Street, and West Hurrell Street. The large number of patches and potholes are a hazard to drivers and pedestrians, not to mention the wear and tear on the vehicles. Second, the concern are the sidewalks. Sidewalks are needed due to the West End's high number of residents who walk to school, to stores, and to work. Streets such as South Caldwell, Old Plank Road lack sidewalk for walkers. It is dangerous to walk in the streets. Finally, I'm concerned about the flooding in the West End during and after heavy rainfalls. Partee Street and Old Plank Road flood quickly. We do not want anyone to get hurt due to dangerous streets, lack of sidewalks, and flooding streets and walkways. I would like to ask the council to review these concerns with actions to follow. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem, our next speaker is Alice Smith. I'm having a little trouble with that, DeLittle, DeWhite. So, apologize.
How are y'all? Mayor Pro Tem and Council, I appreciate this opportunity to come here and speak with y'all. I'm coming from the West End as well. And my concern for the West End is that housing is really going up high. And folks that are impoverished and don't have it are having harder times to find places to live. I've studied many, many West End sides throughout the United States, and it's always a problem when it comes to the West End. I don't know, it's because there's more migrants there, it's more African Americans in those areas, and it's just time that something should be done. There's a great big building that sits there that where we could have our own pharmacies or drugstores or mental health because it's at an all-time high, and we need help in that area. So I just come tonight just to see how in the world we can come up with a plan to help the West End with mental health. There's a garden there, but everybody doesn't even know about the garden. So people can go and maybe start learning how to vegetate and get their products straight out the earth. And as the property values are going up, and it's sad because there are not enough housing in that area to house people. So that's very sad as well. And it just lacks investments. Nobody wants to, and across the board again. But now there was a write-up a few weeks ago from Charlotte to Greensboro. Salisbury is the largest growing city now. So we'll have more people coming from all over different places to live in this town. And it should be enough for everybody to go around if we could just pull together and make these things happen. The money, grants, or whatever could be allotted to make this a different opportunity so people that live on the West End will feel comfortable, safe, and it'd be a beautiful place to come to. Thank you for letting me share.
Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem, our next speaker is Michael Hoyt.
Welcome, Mr. Hoyt.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and City Council. I was given an assignment by the West End Pride, and you don't realize until you ask to look at something that you really don't even notice it until you ask really pointed to it. And it's about housing also on the West Side, because I rode around the West Side, and there's a lot of bad houses that I'm fell in. They ain't been taken care of. The grass has done growed up around them. They got houses. They got different kinds of cars and vehicles sitting behind. I rode down on the West Huron Street, and I've seen 4 houses that were just, not in good care. Nobody's taking care of them, and nobody's looking at them. And my thing is that I know it may not be enough enforcement, because a lot of times, we don't have enough people to go out there and enforce and see these things. But also, we should also have a pride about ourselves of wanting to do something about our homes and do something about them to look better, or sell them and get rid of them to give them to somebody else. I know a lot of stuff is our property, and a lot of people don't live here and they don't take care of it. But it just don't look good. And as the lady before me lifted up, that you got a lot of people coming in here sooner or later to live here, and you got a lot of just dilapidated homes around here that needs to be dealt with. They need to put more pressure on people about doing something about their homes and fixing their homes up, or sell their homes if they don't want them. But it looks bad. and you come in here and they're in all kinds of places of different things and shape. And yeah, I've seen a few of them that had the grass cut because of the ordinance and stuff, but you still got a raggedy house sitting in front of it, but cut grass. So what difference does that make? The grass is cut, but the house is falling in. So I think we need to come to a point where more pressure needs to be put on them, more rules. I know we probably got ordinance in place, and then they probably need to be enforced more to do the job for them. But, you know, bringing the concern to the council today, that if you ride around, it's plenty of them. And I know a lot of times people figure like, as long as they pay the taxes and all this, they fine. But still, even if you're paying your taxes, you ought to have pride about your property and fix your property up so it'll look good for everybody in the same neighborhood. It's a shame that you got to make people do the right things, but sometimes that's just what you got to do. I thank y'all for hearing me this evening, and y'all have a good evening.
Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem, our next speaker is May Carroll.
Welcome, Ms. Carroll.
My name is May Carroll. In 1965, I built my grandparents a house here in Salisbury. I was a first lieutenant in the United States Air Force. I flew in planes. But my problem today is speeding here in Salisbury on the West End. It is really, really out of control. When I came back here, I talked to City Council years ago about putting a speed limit on Old Plank Road and further up on Marsh Street. I had to go around to 30 houses and get people to sign saying that they would like a speed limit of 25 miles per hour. So I got that done. I had to, people that did not live in houses, I had to try to write them and try to get their permission. Now, I felt as though very angry that shouldn't have been my job. But it was, the speeding was such a problem, I felt as though, well, we better do something. So I was able to accomplish that. But that has not solved the problem. The problem is, on the West End, there is much speeding. I had a young man, I was on my porch. He came down doing 98 miles an hour. He hit my light pole. He turned around and left, and I was trying to call the police, but I didn't have time to get the license number. So these cars are coming down, and children are unable to play in the streets because of the speed limit. I know I talked to the chief, and I got the traffic, the little buggy that tells you the traffic. We were able to have that before a few days. But after that, somebody tore it up, and it left, and I hadn't been able to get that back. But my problem is my son is an actor, and he lives in the country club. I go up there, everything is smooth. Matter of fact, they had the buggy up there, and it wasn't even on, because my son said, we don't need it. We don't go over 10 miles an hour up in the country club area. Now, I'm not in the country club area. I don't feel comfortable up there, to tell you the truth. I like Old Plank Road. But the problem is speeding is out of control. And I'm asking the City Council to please do something about it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem, our final speaker is Ethan Chirico.
Welcome, Jericho.
Good evening, Council. I'm Ethan Jericho, the President of the Salisbury Professional Firefighter Association, and I'm calling for policy changes to improve the working conditions for firefighters in Salisbury. Your firefighters are golden when it comes to saving lives and property. They lay down their lives for strangers, but they expect to be taken care of by the policymakers that decide their health and their livelihood. We need more firefighters. We need better compensation, and we are on the verge of not having enough fire trucks to run calls. This year's fire budget has big line items, but these are necessities, not luxuries. And it's my job to remind Council the ever-present danger that you ask of us firefighters. We are on track to spend double our allocated overtime budget this year. Those dollars are spent on staffing that would be better filled by rested firefighters. Instead, we steadily increase the risk of bodily harm on our current firefighters, and we put citizens' lives and property in danger. In September, 3 of your firefighters saved a local police officer's life from a violent person. That easily could have been a disaster, but thankfully no one was injured. Last week in Missouri, Gregory Hoffman of Local 42, firefighter paramedic, was stabbed and murdered by the patient he was transporting to the hospital in the ambulance that he was in. Gregory was 29. Structure fires are the main danger of our job. The most unknowns, the most risk, but they have the most reward. This town has lost 3 firefighters to structure fires. And just down the road, on March 29th of 2024, Ronnie Metcalf of Local 3064 died in fighting a fire. Ronnie was 53. The most insidious danger we face is silent and sudden, cancer. You might not know, but Captain Don Clark of our own was diagnosed with cancer last year and is thankfully clear as of today. He is 59, but he still gets on a fire truck every 3rd day and to protect this community. But he was hurt by his job. And it is the council's job to protect him and keep him healthy from occupational injuries. This is a hard thing to do, but it is not impossible, and this is not new. The 2023 Fallen Firefighter Memorial from the International Association of Firefighters listed almost 66% of the names from 2002 to 2003 as cancer deaths. We have started in the right direction with cancer screenings. This January, thankfully, none of those came back negative. It took over a year of advocacy though, from this fire union to have those screenings. Last month, Senior Firefighter Carricker and Senior Firefighter Huntley resigned because they lost hope in the city providing them a good future. We accept risk when we joined, but none of us signed up to be abused and exploited for our labor. We are here to work together with council. The only way out is through. We need council to make policies that are going to improve the life of firefighters. Please make those policies in this budget. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem, that's all of our speakers.
Thank you. All right. Thank you all who participated in public comment. I'd like to go to item number 9. Council to consider adopting of an ordinance approving an annexation agreement with the town of Spencer. Presenter City Attorney Graham Coyer and Planning and Neighborhood Director Hannah Jacobson.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, members of council. I'm excited to be here this evening to present an agreement with the town of Spencer to create a non-annexation boundary. We have a similar agreement with Granite Quarry that was adopted in 2023, and for the last several months we've been meeting with the town of Spencer staff along with our staff at SRU, Land and Development, respective fire departments, and of course city manager and city attorney. And tonight we're excited to present our recommendation to you. So this project is consistent with the city's strategic plan and directly consistent with our Forward 2040 comprehensive plan, which recognized that as we grow, it's important to have clarity and understanding with our neighbors about that growth. So non-annexation is somewhat of an odd term. What these agreements generally do is they create a line on a map that shows which municipality someone would approach should they choose to annex and receive city services. So again, I want to reiterate that point. Annexation by state law is voluntary and it needs to be initiated by a petition by a property owner. And there is nothing about this agreement that changes that. What it does do is hopefully provide some predictability and brings that to the table. There are other state laws about how annexation can occur. Generally speaking, a property can be annexed by a city if it's within 3 miles of the corporate limits, and if it's been determined to be kind of the closest municipality to the primary corporate limit. And boundaries that are generally derived by that state statute do not always generate the most logical or efficient boundaries. So for example, if you were to strictly follow the state statute in that instance, you might have a line that bisects, a parcel, splits a parcel into two. Or you have a moving target. So as a corporate limit expands, that boundary between municipalities also might shift. So these annexation agreements really do therefore provide an opportunity, again, for predictability and fair and thoughtful processes. And so that was certainly kind of on our minds as we were working with the town of Spencer on drafting our agreement. Even before we looked at a map, I met with the town of Spencer's planner. His name is Steve Flint, and we came up with some planning principles that help to direct our work, and those are listed on the screen. As we think about the boundary should avoid splitting parcels between jurisdictions. The boundary should respect our current ETJ boundaries, with the exception of where the ETJ does sometimes split parcels. The boundary should also follow center lines of roads in so much as possible to create clear delineations. The boundaries should reflect the ability and capacity to provide services, particularly fire protection. The boundaries should consider the suitability of land for urban densities. And then finally, the boundaries should contemplate each other's overall ability to grow in the future. And so I hope you can see reflected in the map some of what those principles are. Just to orient you a little bit to what we are looking at on the screen, the City of Salisbury primary corporate limits is in dark blue, Town of Spencer is in green. Our extraterritorial jurisdiction is in light blue, and Spencer's is in light green. And so as we look at where this non-annexation boundary or the delineation between our growth areas occurs, we are proposing that it follow Grants Creek and then traveling north across Hawkinstown Road, and this follows our existing established ETJ boundaries all the way up to 7th Street. It would then cut over to Garrick Road and again cut north to Ridge Road. And Ridge Road as a northern extent for kind of urban densities makes sense for a number of different reasons. This is where gravity shifts, and it's the ridge line. So gravity flows south towards our sewer treatment plants this way. Same thing for Spencer. And also, when the river pump station is relocated, this area will become watershed protection area, so it will limit densities to less than 2 units per acre at that time as well. There is a little bit of an interesting area here, which is noted as an area that would be within Salisbury's growth area, but would remain with Town of Spencer zoning. And then the same thing over here in this area, which would be within Spencer's growth area, but retain Salisbury zoning. Our zoning districts are very compatible, both are rural, agricultural type uses in these areas. So we don't anticipate there being any significant issues there. We have included in your packet a copy of the annexation agreement that was drafted by the city attorney, and Town of Spencer is prepared to have their public hearing on Thursday of this week and look to adopt a very similar, identical agreement as Salisbury, I believe, next week at their regular meeting. So with that, we're happy to answer any questions about the growth agreements. Otherwise, our request tonight is to hold a public hearing and consider adopting an ordinance approving the annexation agreement between the City of Salisbury and the Town of Spencer.
Thank you, Ms. Jacobson. Council, do you have any questions at this time before we go to public?
I don't.
All right. So I'd like to hold a public hearing. Is anyone out there who's willing to or wanting to say anything either for or against? Okay, if not.
Do we have to open a public hearing?
Oh, we got to open. Oh,
Do we have to open a public hearing?
Just open.
Yeah, open for a public hearing. Anyone for or against? If not, we'll close the public hearing and come back to council. Council, do we have a motion to adopting an ordinance approving an annexation agreement with the town of Spencer?
I'll make the motion to adopt an ordinance approving an annexation agreement between the town of Spencer and the city of Salisbury.
Okay, we have a motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any negative? The ayes have it. All right. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem, I'd just like to thank our planning director and our city attorney for all the work on that item. Good job.
And I'd like to say, too, I think it's wonderful to see our staff work with the staff of Spencer and for predictability. So anyway, thank you for what you do and the work that you put in it.
Definitely. All right. Number 10. Council consider voluntary annexation, 27.2 acres located at 272 Hertz Drive, tax map 409, parcel 006, and portion of parcel 017, effective May 6, 2025, and adopting an ordinance amending the land development district map to rezone the parcel from Rowan County commercial, business, residential, and rural residential to light industrial with conditional district overlay. Presenters, Planning Manager Victoria Bailiff, and Planning Neighborhood Director Hannah Jacobs.
Good evening again, Mayor Pro Tem, members of council. I am pleased to have Victoria join me tonight. We're going to do a joint presentation for the voluntary annexation and the rezoning request for Hearst Drive. So following our presentation, we'll have a joint public hearing, and then there will be several motions that are requested, one for the annexation and I believe two for the rezoning request. So for the annexation, this is, again, a voluntary annexation of 27.2 acres off of Hearst Drive. This annexation request has appeared on two previous city council agendas, both as procedural items, and of course tonight we are having the public hearing and asking you to consider adopting the ordinance to annex. So Hearst Drive is located off of Webb Road. You can see it at the very bottom of the map, off of Interstate 85 and Webb Road. It is within our growth agreement with the town of Granite Quarry, and also meets all the other statutory requirements. It's within 3 miles of our primary corporate limit, and we are the closest primary corporate limit. This is a map showing a little bit more site characteristics, and I know Victoria will go into this a whole lot more, so I'm not going to dwell too much on it. Same thing here with our zoning map, shows the context of the site. And this is the petition, this is the annexation plat that has been submitted by the applicants. We have shared this request and circulated it among multiple city departments to understand the fiscal and service delivery impact of annexing this 27.2 acres. If developed with an investment of $19 million, we do anticipate tax revenues increasing to $120,547 annually. The impact to service delivery is generally minimal for these types of larger industrial facilities. Victoria will get more into the details of what the exact proposal is. But I will note that the fire department did indicate that while it is within an acceptable response time of Station 6 off of Cedar Springs Road, these types of facilities do create more demand and more need for fire inspectors citywide, and of course would over time would lead to more additional need for on-duty firefighters at Fire Station 6. Water and sewer extensions are needed to serve the site, which will be the responsibility of the owner. Police, Public Works, Code Enforcement, Parks and Recreation all indicated minimal impact to their levels of service. And Transportation noted that these are that they would be served by NCDOT streets. The development did trigger a TIA, Traffic Impact Assessment, by NCDOT, and I believe depending on the timing of multiple developments in that area could trigger either a stop light or a turn lane, just depending on the timing. So I'm happy to answer questions about the annexation. We can also reserve those questions until after Victoria is finished with the rezoning presentation.
Council, do you have any questions?
Are there any specific plans yet? Are there any specific plans yet for it when you're projecting a $19 million investment?
We'll go through that in my rezoning presentation. Okay. So we have rezoning RZCD 10-2024-00014. MWI Property Group has petitioned on behalf of the property owners to have 272 Hurst Drive and a portion of the adjacent property to the west rezoned. The parcels are currently under Rowan County jurisdiction, under zoning districts, commercial business industrial, CBI, and rural residential RR. And the applicant is requesting that they be rezoned to City of Salisbury zoning district, light industrial, LI, with a conditional district overlay upon annexation. These parcels are surrounded by other properties zoned CBI with some RR to the southeast. All properties immediately adjacent are used for either industrial or commercial purposes, with the exception of a few residential properties on the southern side. The property's high point is at the northern end, and the current grade slopes downwards towards the Blue Line Stream and pond located on the southern half of the property. These properties are not affected by the 100-year floodplain. The master plan accompanying the rezoning request proposes a 231,415 square foot industrial building that's proposed to be used for light manufacturing, neighborhood manufacturing, indoor storage, or wholesaling and distribution, all of which are permitted uses under the LI zoning district. There are no design alternatives being requested with this plan. The applicant has proposed tree preservation areas in the northern portion and also along the western side of the property. The project is also proposing 252 parking spaces located on the northern side of the structure, with 41 trailer stacking spaces on the southern side. Access points are not definite at this time due to proposed Lane Parkway extension. One access to Webb Road has been proposed with 2 access points along the Lane Parkway extension. Sewer access will come from the north and water access will come from a line proposed to the east. These are the building elevations for the northern side and the southern side of the structure. These are the building elevations for the eastern and western side, and the applicant has also provided some renderings that you can see here. This is the dumpster enclosure elevations that have been provided. Staff finds that the requested rezoning is consistent with Forward 2040 Policy 7.8.2, which recommends continuing to support the creation of infill business and industrial parks, as well as Policy 7.8.3, recommending to protect industrial opportunity areas from other types of development that make it difficult to assemble land. The future land use map doesn't currently have any designated place type since it is in Rowan County jurisdiction, not ours. The proposed base district of LI is associated with production and processing as well as employment center place types. Staff is recommending production and processing for the place type as it appears to fit the description and predominant land uses best. The master plan was reviewed by the city's technical review committee on October 24th, 2024, where TRC recommended approval of the master plan subject to minor revisions which were satisfied upon resubmittal. This went to the planning board at their March 25th meeting, 2025, where they found the request to be consistent with the Forward 2040 comp plan and recommended approval of the request as submitted, also recommending that the property be assigned the production and processing place type on our future land use map. Are there any further questions before we move into public hearing?
We have questions? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. I would open up for a public hearing. Anybody in favor or against the ordinance? Yes. Please state your name.
Good evening. My name is Michael Weber. I'm with MWI Property Group. As you saw, we are the developer for the project. First off, just want to let you guys know that we are excited to be here. We appreciate your time this evening, of course, council, and appreciate you considering our project. As mentioned, we're excited to be considered, to be part of your community. We have been working very hard to get this project to this point, and we appreciate, of course, your time as well as staff's time. They've been extremely professional getting us to this point, and we've asked a lot of questions of them, some easier, some than others, but they've been extremely helpful along the way. As you saw in the presentation, we're we're investing $19 million into the community, and we are extremely excited to be here. This is a great area that we want to be in. We think it got great potential, and the type of tenants we want to bring here, as you can see from the approved list, manufacturing, assembly, distribution. Those are the types of companies we typically work with. We just recently signed a lease with Boeing on another facility that we constructed. Axiom Plastics we've worked with, so other large manufacturing companies. That's what we're hoping to bring to the community. Great tenants, great jobs, that kind of thing. So again, appreciate your time this evening. Like I said, we're excited to be here, excited to be considered to be part of your community, and we're here to answer any questions you may have.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Michael. Anyone else?
Here she comes again.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem, Council. I just have a couple of questions or clarification. I noticed in the presentation it says minimum, park rec, minimum. There was about 4 minimums. I'm not sure what minimum means. Is it little or is it same? And again, my question is, what about the air quality in our city? Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Dee Wright. Anyone else? If not, we'll close the public hearing. Oh, sorry.
Can one of these, can that question be addressed?
Yes, that's what I was going to say. If you want to come up and please address that question.
These
it's
gentlemen,
possible
they know.
to. Yes.
Staff?
Or staff, either one.
You want staff?
If you can answer, if not, if you can call on.
I'm not quite sure what Ms. Wright was talking about, the minimums.
I think I know, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I believe Ms. Wright was referring to the annexation impact analysis, in which we ask all the departments to review the annexation and report on whether or not there will be an impact to their service delivery. Most of the departments that we heard from said that an industrial facility of this type, even in its location, which is further away from our corporate limits, will generally not have an impact on their ability to provide services to the rest of the community. Oftentimes, these larger industrial facilities, they don't have residential trash pickup, for instance, so that is not really a burden on our public works department. Same thing with code enforcement. We typically do not see, these types of facilities having the types of nuisance or minimum housing requests that happen in other parts of the city. So in general, these types of facilities just don't have that type of impact. Fire department was the only one that did report having a little bit of impact, and especially on their fire inspectors, and then the future need for additional staff at Fire Station 6. I hope that addresses that. I know there was also a question of air quality, and I don't know that I have the ability to answer that question.
Neighborhood manufacturing, light manufacturing, those are uses that are not going to be using heavy chemicals. Any type of heavy chemicals or hazardous materials are going to be under heavy manufacturing, which is not what they're requesting. in regards to just the general environmental quality. I'm sure, you know, wholesaling and distribution, they're gonna have trucks running in and out. So there's gonna be additional fossil fuels put into the air from the trucks, but, other than that, it's going to depend upon the use, the exact use for the company, but as I said, heavy manufacturing is not what they're requesting, and that's where you would get the heavy chemicals, toxic chemicals, or anything like that.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? All right, thank you. All right. First, we'd like to consider adopting an ordinance annexing TAP map 409, parcel 006, and a portion of parcel 017. Do I have a motion?
If there are no more questions, I'll make the motion to adopt an ordinance to extend the corporate limits of the city of Salisbury, North Carolina to include 27.20 acres identified on tax map 409, parcel 006, and a portion of parcel 17 located on Hurst Drive, effective May 6, 2025.
All right, we have a motion. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. We also have another motion. I'd like to issue a statement of consistency and statement of reasonableness and consider adopting an ordinance rezoning the property. Do you have a motion for that?
Do you need another motion?
Yes, another
Okay.
motion.
Okay, let me try this one too. Because I would like to make a motion for approval. The city hereby finds and determines that the adoption of an ordinance to rezone the property described herein is reasonable and in the public interest. The proposal is fundamentally consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the Forward 2040 Comprehensive Plan. Therefore, I make a motion to adopt an ordinance amending the Land Development District map of the city of Salisbury, North Carolina, rezoning 272 Hurst Drive, approximately 27.20 acres from Rowan County Rural Residential and Commercial Business Industrial to City of Salisbury Light Industrial with a conditional district overlay.
All right, we have a motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any noes? Okay, the ayes have it. All right, thank you. There's something.
Did we have a motion, this may not have been included in your proposed motion, but we do need, regarding the future land use map, place type? Was anything listed in there?
Not included.
To improve.
Don't have that.
We need them to assign the place type for production and processing, if that's you can amend the motion if you'd like, I believe, to include assigning the future land use place type as production and processing, if that is the place type.
I will make that amendment, if I
Like
could.
to make
Make
the
the motion
amendment.
with the
Okay.
amendment.
Future land use type for
The future land use place type
place type,
of production and processing.
production and processing.
Yes.
Do I have amendment to that motion?
Yes.
Okay, all in favor? All right.
Apologies for that not getting
All
in
right,
your
thank you.
motion. Thank you.
Okay, item number 11, authorized to sell .24 acres located at 124 North Martin Luther King Jr. Avenue and identified on tax map 016, parcel 209, an amount of $6,000 to Abraham Hernandez Espinoza. Presenter, Planning and Neighborhood Director, Hannah Jacobson.
Good evening again. So several meetings ago, you may remember that I presented to council an overview of the upset bid process and also informed you of an offer we had received to purchase the property at 124 North Martin Luther King Jr. Avenue. So here's, again, a review kind of that upset bid process with some dates that are associated with this particular offer to purchase. So it was at the April 1st meeting where council adopted a resolution to authorize upset bid. Later that week, on April 3rd, city advertised in the Salisbury Post for upset bids. We did not receive any upset bids within the period in which we were accepting them. So that brings us to tonight, where council is presented with the bid and may either award or reject the highest bid. And again, the highest bid came from the original bidder, which is Mr. Abraham Hernandez Espinoza. Mr. Espinoza is in the audience with his realtor and family. His offer to purchase the property was in the amount of $6,000. He owns the adjacent properties on either side of this corner lot. This is 124 North Martin Luther King Jr. Avenue. And for a little bit of context, this is the McDonald's, this is Martin Luther King, this is Innis Street. Also, part of the offer included the requirement and the offer to survey the property at his own cost, record an easement at his own cost, and this was a request of the city because of some sewer infrastructure that bisects the site, and also agreed to pay the cost of advertisement that we incurred through the upset bid process. It's under $200, but that's still money that we appreciate. So all told, we anticipate, while the property value is recorded at $9,200, we anticipate that the investment in the property will be about that, even though the offer amount is $6,000. So staff does circulate these requests again to all of the city departments to see if they have use for the property or have any objections to the sale of the property. There was no objection received. It's encumbered, as you can see, by floodplain, not buildable for any other use by the city. And it does release the maintenance responsibility that we currently do have with it. So again, no objection. Our recommendation is to proceed with the sale of the property. And of course, that is pending that required 30-foot on-center easement of our infrastructure. So our council requested action tonight is to authorize the sale of parcel 016209 in the amount of $6,000 to Abraham Hernandez Espinoza.
Okay, does council have any questions? If not, do we have a motion?
I'll make that motion to authorize the sale of .24 acres located at 124 North Main Street and identified on tax map 016 parcel 209 in the amount of $6,000 to Abraham Hernandez Espinoza.
All in favor? Ayes have it. Thank you. Okay, and then item number 12, council to receive an update on South Main area plan, presenter planner Emily Vanek.
I'm going to rest my voice on this one and let Emily, who is entirely capable of presenting her work on the South Main area plan.
Thank you, and good evening, council. Tonight we are going to share an update on the South Main area plan. This plan is consistent with the city's strategic plan and the key focus area, healthy, safe, and engaged neighborhoods, and more specifically with the policy that says to implement the Forward 2040 comprehensive plan through creating small area plans. So for this planning project, we are defining the South Main area as South Main Street from Hoorah Street, where the City Motor Company is, all the way down to C Avenue, which is where the Habitat for Humanity Restore is. And this includes the Chestnut Hill Cemetery and the former Cone Mill site. South Main Street is not only a vital gateway into downtown, but also provides connections to many surrounding neighborhoods. As you travel through South Main Street now, you see a lot of pavement, a lot of vacant lots, but you also see a lot of early 20th to mid-century architecture, and this hints at the corridor's vibrant history. A reoccurring message that we've heard as we were working with the community to develop this plan is that it's really time to make a plan for South Main Street. Some outcomes that we foresee while working on this plan are some recommendations to establish cohesive zoning districts and to revise our zoning rules to promote compatible new development, and looking at ways to introduce some new community amenities and economic development incentives to promote new development. Work has stopped and started on this, but we are committed to our current timeline. We've done a lot of work on this plan so far, including data collection and research. We've worked a lot with the community to define the vision for this plan. We've met with lots of staff members to make sure that any recommendations that come out of this plan are feasible. We've created draft chapters, and we had an introduction with Planning Board. One item that I'm very excited about is that a study list application for the Chestnut Hill National Register District was accepted, and a decade ago it was denied. I mentioned that we've done a lot of community engagement throughout this plan, but just to go over what we've done so far, we kicked off the planning project with a community walk. About 50 community members came and walked the full length of South Main Street. We looked at the current conditions, had a lot of feedback on the condition of the sidewalks, but people were excited to kind of envision the future of the corridor. After that, we held a community visioning session to kind of get back together and talk about what we saw on the community walk. There were a few areas that people kept bringing up as great spots for new developments, and one of those was the former Cone Mill site, so we included it in the footprint of the plan. And there was a lot of opportunity to preserve some older buildings. Participants were also wanting to see some sort of connection to the East End neighborhood from South Main Street. We're not sure what that looks like right now, but we're hoping this plan does bring some recommendations for that. Just this year, we hosted a community development mapping event where we mapped different development types onto South Main Street. From this, participants had a lot of support for mixed-use development, so not only mixed use vertically, where there's retail on the first floor and residential on the upper floors, but also horizontally, so new residential, new commercial spread throughout the corridor. There was also a lot of support for missing middle housing, so if you think of housing on a spectrum from single-family houses to larger apartment buildings, it's kind of the things in between, like duplexes. People were really excited about cottage courts. And then also looking to introduce design standards for new construction. There was opposition to new auto-centric development types, so new gas stations, new drive-throughs. People did not want to see that on South Main Street. And then we had some key, I like to call them catalytic development areas, where if there were some big projects to happen in these 5 areas, it could really kickstart some transformation in the area. And right now we have a survey open. We wanted to have a virtual participation option because all of our community engagement sessions have been in person so far. So there is a survey open right now. We've had over 80 responses. I think we're now over 90 responses. And we're getting a lot of good feedback and encourage everyone to take it if they haven't yet. And then very briefly, I'm going to give a very high-level summary of the drafts. So this map, in the red areas, those are areas where the value of the land is greater than the value of the structure that sits on the land. So we called those areas underutilized. This does not mean that we want to encourage any demolitions. A lot of those red parcels are historic buildings, City Motor Company included. It just shows it's a great opportunity for redevelopment, reuse, or complete new development. The area in yellow hatching is where the current zoning district is not compatible with the future land use map that was developed with the Forward 2040 plan. And this shows that something could be built there right now that's not in line with the community's vision for that area. Two things I wanted to pull out from this is that there are about 100 small businesses on South Main Street. So there's really that entrepreneurial spirit on South Main Street. And through this plan, we really want to find a way to capture that and try to preserve some of those legacy businesses. Another is that there's about 150 residential units in the development pipeline on South Main Street, which would increase the amount of residential units by 66%. So that's a huge increase of people living on South Main Street. With the community, we've developed some guiding public interests to steer the development and recommendations of the plan. And they are that the South Main area should maintain a balanced mix of commercial and residential land uses, creating appealing destinations that complement rather than compete with downtown. Continue to serve as a gateway into Salisbury while connecting existing streets, bicycle lanes, and transit routes in surrounding neighborhoods and downtown, while comfortably accommodating all users. Be promoted as a vibrant area for artistic expression with public art and creative professional businesses and services, and blend new development with high-quality urban design and architecture with the existing environment. So, we're not asking for anything from council tonight, but I do want to say that we are hoping to have a draft of the plan done by the end of the summer. And of course, if there's any questions, I am happy to answer.
I want to say thank you for all the work that everyone has done. I know from the West End project and the West End project to this that the city is heavily involved, but what I like about it is that when you do have these community engagement, you actually listen to the community. I've been places where they say, okay, thank you, and then they still do. But so those who have the opportunity to please fill out that survey because the city will listen to you. And they have a wonderful team that will try to implement those things as well. So thank you. Anybody else have anything? All right.
Thank you so
Well,
much.
thank you. All right. Item number 13. Council to receive an update on the downtown parking program and consider approving an additional year of the program, including on-street and off-street parking spaces for commercial and residential categories. Presenter Downtown Development Director, Seda Troutman.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and Council. Thank you for having me up here tonight to talk about a program that has been in place for a couple years, and we'll review what is currently in place and then what we are proposing as some revisions. So this downtown parking program does fit in the strategic plan under the economic and workforce development category, promoting an environment to support small businesses and also undertaking opportunities for redevelopment to encourage economic growth. So our current program has been in place since 2023. There have been 2 years of kind of slightly different iterations of this parking program. And the purpose of the program has been and continues to be to address the need for varied parking options in downtown as voiced by residents, property owners, and business owners. We continue to see high usage of the program, particularly in the lot behind the former Wells Fargo building and the Center City lot, which is behind Barnhart Jewelers and Abigail's. But we continue to hear the need for more spaces, particularly opportunity for residents in downtown. So we've heard that there's opportunity for business owners and looking at what residents can have as well as we go through this program. Currently, the Downtown Development Department handles permitting and applications, while the Police Department handles enforcement of the program. This is a first-come, first-served program at point of application, meaning we have a limited number of permits available, and we have an online application that is, it's advertised when that will open, and people will submit their application, and when they have a sufficient application and pay their fee is the order in which those permits are distributed. And we do not overlease for this program. If there are 15 spots in a parking lot, there are 15 permits given out. Proof of downtown residency, property ownership, or employment is required to lease a parking space, and we propose that stay the same. And then one important designation that we've talked about in previous years, but I want to remind everyone, is that the permit is not parking space specific. So again, I'll use Wells Fargo parking lot as an example. There are 15 parking spaces there. One person who has a permit for that parking lot may park in any of those 15 spaces that are available. They don't have one single spot that's theirs. They may be creatures of habit and choose one parking space, but that is not determined by the program. So for this year, we do have a few revisions to the permit program. The first revision that we propose is that each person may only apply for one permit, not two. And that's in an effort to make sure that we see strong utilization of the spaces. We don't want to have an opportunity where a property owner may purchase two parking spaces, they only lease out one of their units and hope they lease out the other one, but leave that parking space empty in the meantime. So each person would be responsible for using the permit that they purchase. The next update would be the separation of locations for residential and commercial parking permits. Currently, we have spaces in the Wells Fargo lot, the COB lot, and the Center City lot, and residential and commercial are all equal opportunity. They can purchase in any location. What we've seen is that the Wells Fargo lot and the COB lot are predominantly, we have more interest from commercial tenants because those are a little farther off of Main Street, and our commercial tenants come in the morning and tend to leave in the evening. They have a more predictable schedule, while the residential tenants have a more unpredictable schedule, may need to come and go for appointments, meetings, shopping, errands, whatever that may be. And so they have voiced need for closer units. And so that leads me to the addition of on-street parking for residential permits on East and West Council Street. So the commercial parking permits would be in that Wells Fargo lot and the city office building COB lot, while the residential permits would be on-street in the 100 blocks of East and West Council Street, as well as a couple parking spaces in the Center City lot. The point for that would be, again, to have the adjacent properties, residential units be able to use that on-street parking. It would be up to 40 parking spaces on-street. Again, this is non-guaranteed access. So the residential tenants would understand as they sign their lease that they only have access to parking if it's available. If there is a parking space available, they're there, and what this permit offers them is the ability to park for longer than 2 hours. 100 blocks of East and West Council are time restricted. You can park for 2 hours, and then our lovely parking enforcement officer will gently remind you that you are not allowed to be parked there for longer than that. This permit would offer the residential permit holders the ability to park there for longer than 2 hours to be able to have their vehicle near their residential unit. Again, I want to emphasize it's not guaranteed, so if they can't find a space there, they will have to go find a space in a different location. That's something that is consistent with other programs that we've seen in other communities. We've researched some larger cities like Charleston and Charlotte who have programs like this, but we want to make sure that that is clear as part of the program. You're not guaranteed a spot, you're just offered the opportunity to park for longer than 2 hours. And then there will be 35 parking spaces off-street for 24 access to parking. Again, those are those parking lots that I've already mentioned, COB lot, Wells Fargo lot, and Center City. This is the location of those lots. So again, city office building lot is up here. That would be 15 parking spaces, or about 13% of that parking lot. This is the Wells Fargo parking lot, again, 15 spaces for about 30% of that lot. And then 5 spaces in the Center City lot, which is about 12%. Total, we're looking at up to 75 permits. I want to emphasize the up to. Again, if we don't have the demand, then we will not issue parking permits for just anyone. This will be part of the application process. So if all 75 permits were to be applied for, that would be of the over 1,500 parking spaces we have available to the public in downtown, that's less than 5% of parking supply in the city that we're talking about leasing. Which is consistent with the fact that even though this is year 3 of the program, we are still testing what works for the city. And so this would be a 1-year program beginning on July 1st. And we don't want to overflood the supply or demand of parking. We want to see what works and assess and continue to assess the program. So I'll just add some other notes. This program has been shared with management team, including police department staff, so that they are aware of this, as again, they will be the ones enforcing this, and they see and are able to communicate with people about some of these parking issues. And staff has considered locations of actual use of spaces when we're looking at these parking lots, as well as requests for paid parking. So we're testing the on-street parking in a quadrant of downtown that has the highest number of residential units without access to parking within half a block. So that's the reason this location was selected. And then, of course, enforcement and collection of fines, as I mentioned, will continue to be handled through the police department with their new software that was approved by City Council just a few meetings ago. So the request for action tonight is to approve an additional year of the Downtown Salisbury Parking Program for fiscal year 25-26, including on-street and off-street parking spaces, and for commercial and residential categories. But I'm happy to answer any questions anyone may have about this program.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Troutman. Any questions, council? I have one question. As far as the parking, I know you said 35 spaces were 24/7. Do other ones have any type of restrictions, such as Monday through Friday only, or?
So looking at this map, the city office building lot is typically reserved for city employees during the week, and then it's open to the public on the weekends. But this would allow those permit holders to park there Monday through Sunday, 24/7. The Wells Fargo parking lot currently has no parking restrictions, so people who choose to park here are guaranteeing themselves a parking space in a lot that otherwise has no restrictions. And then the city office building lot is 2-hour parking. So the people who purchase parking permits here are, again, offering themselves the opportunity to have a guaranteed spot where otherwise it's 2 hours.
Okay, and the Wells Fargo, that is including like chair wine or any type of events, they still have those?
So written into the agreement is the city has up to 10 days a year, including Cheerwine Festival, where we ask them to not be parked there. And that's part of any parking lease that we have in all 3 of these parking lots. We have written in that we are able to ask them to not park there should we need it for an event like Cheerwine.
All right, thank you. David, just asking any questions regarding anything? All right. Do we have a motion to approve an additional year of downtown Salisbury parking program to include on-street and off-street parking spaces for commercial and residential categories?
I'll make that motion to approve an additional year to the downtown Salisbury parking program to include on-street and off-street parking spaces for commercial and residential categories.
All right, we have a motion. All in favor? Say aye. All right. Any noes? Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, item 14, council to consider appointments for various boards and commissions. Connie, do you have any?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem McLaughlin. Our first one is the Housing Advocacy Commission, and our council liaison is Councilmember Post.
We have one opening, right?
Yes, sir.
Hannah, as I understand that you found somebody with, is that correct? Blair Copeland?
Yes, Ms. Villiard Copeland has a background in health and social work and would be a good fit for the commission.
Thank you. I'd like to nominate Valir Copeland for the open seat on the Housing Advocacy Commission. Thank you, Hannah.
Okay, so we have a motion.
Is that a motion?
Yes,
Yes, okay.
I'm sorry.
Oh, that's right. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. And that was, what person was that?
Mayor Pro Tem, we have one opening on the planning board, but I don't think we're ready to make a recommendation at this time.
Okay, thank you. All right,
That's it.
all right. Item 15, City Attorney's report?
No, sir, nothing from our report.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Item 16, City Manager's report. Do you have
Pro
anything?
Tem Council, nothing to report tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Council comments?
I'd like to say we miss our mayor, Mayor Sheffield, tonight, but our Mayor Pro Tem McLaughlin has just done a wonderful job, so thank you for filling in for her in her absence.
Appreciate it. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you. Anybody else?
I'll say ditto. I want to thank staff. I thought your presentations were terrific tonight, as they always are. And Connie in particular, because I know 3 or 4 meetings ago, I kept saying I would like to see the presentations in advance in addition to the agenda, but you're now sending those out, and I'm grateful for that. I like the color pictures.
Thank you, sir.
It's Mayor Pro Tem comments. I know there've been some comments and asking regarding some of the speed. I know we do have programs out there where you can go on and fill out a request to take a look at speed management and things of that sort. So just ask everyone to fill that out. And I know the city is looking into some of those things already at this time. So thank you. And for the mayor's not here, but the mayor's announcement and comments. The Cherry Wine Festival will take place Saturday, May 17th from 10 a.m. until 7 p.m. in downtown Salisbury with featured live entertainment, Cherry Wine-inspired food and drinks, arts and craft, and kids' activities. Free shuttle parking will be provided from the Rowan Cabarrus Community College, Catawba College, and Livingstone College School of Hospitality Management and Culinary Arts from 9:45 a.m. until 8 p.m. For more information, visit www.cheerwinefest.com. And then the Salisbury City Council will hold a special meeting Tuesday, May 13th, 2025 at 6 p.m. at City Hall, 217 South Main Street. The purpose of this meeting will be for the council to receive the proposed FY 2025-2026 budget. All right.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
All right,